Hi, my name is Kevin, and I collect old irons, and I have recently returned from Troy, New York. What brought me to Troy is this group of irons, which I've been quite curious about. They come in many companies, various markings. They are all very similar, usually very much the same size, massive blockish construction, rounded at the front, and usually with a either smooth or a rounded or a crosshatched bottom. And most common of these is this one right here, which is marked the M. Mahoney, Troy, New York, and there's a patent date in the back, November 18th, 1876. These come from an 1876 patent by Michael Mahoney of Troy, New York. And the patent is for this crosshatched bottom. This serves to concentrate the weight over a smaller area, and so this is technically a polishing iron for getting a high sheen out of certain fabrics. And while for many patents the patentee is not the company owner, here Mahoney is not just the inventor, but also an important manufacturer in Troy. Here is a portrait of Mr. Mahoney in the library at the Hart Cluett Museum on 2nd Street in Troy. Also to be found in the Hart Cluett Library is this table, built by the Mahoney foundry and something he kept in his house until he died. A beautiful table, just gorgeous metalwork. The name of the company is the Michael Mahoney Architectural Works, later Troy Architectural Works. And the reason for that name is that a part of Mahoney's business was making metal architectural castings for banisters and storefronts. And as you go around the old streets of Troy and Albany, you will see these beautiful stairways, and if you look around, you'll find the Michael Mahoney markings, although there were other companies that made these as well. Mahoney also made the metal storefronts, which is the columns and other front pieces here. Now the ironwork is gaily painted in many colors. If you're interested in architectural ironwork, I recommend this book by Diana Waite. So Kate and I drove to Troy to learn more about these things. By and large, all of these have, most of them at least, have Troy markings, and I was curious about exactly what they were used for. I was also hoping to find a catalog from which I could determine more about the range of products that Mahoney might have made in terms of irons and the dates and so forth. Never did find that, but I learned a lot about Troy history, and what I learned is what these things were used for. These things were used for collars. Troy is still known as the Collar City. Indeed, by the late 1800s, Troy was the, quote, collar and cuff capital of the world. There were at that time 15,000 people working in the collar and shirt shops in Troy. Many of these employees were women, and there are, to this day, various reminders of this collar heritage in Troy. For example, this is the collar factory, now apartments and offices. The reason for all this starts with Hannah Montague, who in 1827 is reputed to have invented the detachable collar, and with her husband set up a business in Troy to be followed by many other shirt and collar businesses, including Arrow Shirts. I have in my travels found this box. This is it says Arrow on the side, and I thought I might find use for this someday. Inside there are quite a lot of collars. Turns out all of these are for a smaller neck size than my own. The collars themselves, they have been ironed by collar irons, and they are very, very starched, very stiff. The has a buttonhole in the back, so I could fit into a button in the back of my shirt, and then there's a buttonhole in the front, which would meet the button of the front of my shirt. This would be quite stiff. I'm sure it would keep your posture very erect, which is what was the businessman code, I guess, was in that day. A dress code, if you will. And these were apparently, you would have ironed them flat like this and then folded them like this. Very stiff, not looking like they're very comfortable, but also if you got a little sweat on these things, which you probably would because they're very close to your skin, you just switch them off with another one the next day and still be able to keep your your shirt for several days. Michael Mahoney started in business originally as a partnership between Calvin Link and Michael Mahoney, Lincoln Mahoney. This is an ad from the early 1870s. It says, Lincoln Mahoney, iron stable fittings, laundry supplies, sinks and cesspools, chimney tops, etc. Boy, I would really like to get one of these laundry stoves on the left of this ad. I have come on to a couple of these irons that are marked Link and Mahoney. They are much like the others, although these are not cross-hatched on the bottom. They're sort of flat, though curved, and don't have patent dates. What appears to have happened is about the time when Michael Mahoney came out with his patent, Link and Mahoney split up. 1876 is also about when the company expanded to a new factory building on 5th Street and Liberty, and that building still stands. Now the Lusco Paper Company. Not having found that catalog, I don't know the full extent of the variety of irons that Mahoney must have made, but I'm sure it was quite a range. That included flat irons. This is Mahoney Manufacturing Company, Troy, New York, flat on the bottom. You also find these, and these are the Mahoney base with a handle on the back and a hole on the front. And what these were irons used in commercial establishments where they actually ran these things on a conveyor belt, and people could use the back to make sure that they were in the right groove or right places they should be. Again, this would be a sort of from an industrial operation. But what happened was that many other companies then made irons just like this. I assume licensed through many companies. This is the J.B. Moran Foundry in Cincinnati. This is Geneva in Illinois. I've seen maybe dozens of different companies making irons that are very much like this. And there were other companies in Troy that got into the act. This is the L.S. Helm from Troy, New York. This has got a stippled bottom rather than the cross-hatched bottom. This is the Joseph Hernberg Company, also marked Troy, New York. Again, sort of a rough bottom. And others. This is an unmarked company. This is I'm sure this is from Troy. This could be from Mahoney himself. Has the cross-hatched bottom, very heavily made, and this again has that hole in the front, which would mark it for being in a commercial operation. These commercial laundries must be a subject in their own right. In addition to the collar making factories, there are also many companies that ironed these collars, and the people that did this ironing work were mostly women. About 500 of these women workers were organized into a national union, the Collar Laundry Union, by Kate Mullaney. Kate led several strikes to improve working conditions and to increase the women's pay, and is something of a labor hero. The home that Kate Mullaney lived in, Troy, is now a National Historic Site and is worth a visit. There is no known picture of Kate Mullaney, but there has recently been a play about her in Troy, and here is a copy of the poster with a good line: "Never iron while the strike is hot." While at the Kate Mullaney Museum, I saw a interesting Mahoney iron, and I show some pictures here. This is a Mahoney iron, very typical to the irons that we're used to seeing, but this one has that hole in the front and is obviously part of a commercial operation. Now, about these Mahoney irons, these are extremely common. There must have been hundreds of thousands of these things made with Mahoney markings, and then thousands of others with other markings. They are an interesting group, and it's a group that I want to learn more of, and I have no doubt that I will be back in Troy to learn some more of this, and I hope we'll all be excited to learn about that as well. So keep in touch, keep sending emails, and you'll see me again.